Typical D&D campaigns see the characters running all over the world. But in a Ptolus or any other city-focused campaign, the PCs are going to need a home base. Or honestly, at least a place that they can stay consistently, unless they're going to change where they stay every single night. Which, honestly, if you piss off a bunch of powerful people, that might not be such a bad idea, right? The Ptolus book does give us some guidance on what real estate should cost in the city, but I also wanted to detail several permanent housing or home base options that are already available in the book, done for you, have maps and details, everything. If you jump to chapter 26, titled On Being a Resident, you'll see a section in there that covers owning and renting property. That's on page 542 of the old book and 502 in the new 5th edition book. Many of your parties will probably just start out staying at the Ghostly Minstrel or the Welcome Inn or any of the other inns in Ptolus. These locations usually have the cost for renting a room detailed right inside the location's listing, so that's covered for you. In chapter 26, there are also some generic rates. So like an apartment or a flat that's 1 room is 5 silver pieces a month. Apartment or flat that's 3 to 4 rooms is 5 gold pieces a month. If you're going to rent a small house, 3 gold a month. Large house, 50 gold a month, right? You can look through that and see everything that's detailed there. Then it also details the cost to purchase a permanent location. The prices vary by district because even in a fantasy world, real estate is still about location, location, location. So it ranges from the docks is the cheapest at 500 gold pieces, all the way up to like the temple district is 9,000 gold. Or if you want to buy something in the nobles' quarters, 50,000 gold pieces is going to be something that you buy, and there's probably going to be a ton of restrictions on that as well, so you can run that. There is no pricing written for the Warren's location, it's just not available, and that's because A, you probably don't want to live there, and B, you can't really buy anything in just a ramshackle collection of garbage, right? Now, let's dive into the specific locations, which already have maps available that your party could end up owning. Player warning, pause, spoiler alert, danger, danger, danger. If you are playing in a Ptolus campaign and you are not the narrator, then please stop watching this right now because I'm absolutely going to have spoilers that follow, okay? Are they gone? All right, let's continue. Location number 1, Torridon Cran's house. If you're running the Chapter 33 adventures, then one of the first places they could wind up owning, that is if they don't wind up burning it down, is Torridon Cran's house. This is a small 1-story house on Nar Street in southern Midtown. Now, if Cran is killed, then they might be able to purchase the home. If he is dead and they cannot find a legal deed, then that might be an adventure all into itself, like my campaign did with Shulakar's Lair, which I'll talk about here in a second. If you wanted to make it easy on them, Torridon could have just been renting, and they could buy the house at a discount after there was a small fire. Or maybe if you want to make it really easy on them, the deed to the property is actually inside the location. They can find it, sign it over to themselves, and buy it, right? Another Chapter 33 adventure is Lennox Borough. Now, this isn't just one property. It is an entire cul-de-sac in the Rivergate district. There's only a map of the whole borough, and there's not one of each individual building's interiors, but honestly, it shouldn't be hard to find maps for those if you want to do it. Again, if Lennox is killed, this area might be up for grabs or for sale. And now also remember, if the characters just move into a vanquished foe's home, there might actually be legal repercussions to that because you're living in a city. Somebody probably owns those, and there's probably some kind of legal paperwork to follow. You can go into as much detail or as little as you want for your campaign. Do what's going to make the most sense for you. Shulakar's Lair. Chapter 33 again. Shulakar's Lair is the lower location in Adventure 4. If you search on my ptol.us website map, there is a listing saying Adventure 4 location. It's on Brandywine Street in the Guildsman district. Now, don't tell anybody, but this is actually the home base of the characters Vokath and Talon Ursulado from the Calling campaign, my campaign. This location, after the combat was over, provided us a ton of role-playing opportunities that were just a blast and something I had never done before. First off, this is a subterranean complex. This is not an above-ground residence, okay? And it's hidden under what looks like an abandoned lot on Brandywine Street. So the players had to forge a deed. They had to forge a deed, purchase and sales papers. They also had to disguise themselves as buyer and seller under fake names because they didn't want anybody to be able to just trace back their location in case they made those big people mad. Then they had to clear debris off of the lot. They even put up a big tent to hide what was underneath there. Then they had to go around to all the different guilds that sold the materials they would need. Stone, glass, iron, wood, on and on and on. Now, this is yet another round of awesome role-playing, and it was a great way to introduce the PCs to groups that they might not automatically encounter through adventuring. Why would you talk to the Stone Builders or the Masons Guild if you're just going down into the Undercity or into Ghoul's Labyrinth, right? Now, Vo even commissioned the Lair of Building from the Dreaming Apothecary. Since she's a bard, she was able to magically construct the location. Guess what? That pissed off the Stonemasons Guild because they lost out on the labor, and the PCs had to deal with that diplomatically. Really fun role-playing. This is optional. You don't have to do it, but it was really fun for us. And since we're a play-by-post campaign, it's really easy to delve into this really fun extra stuff that might not be so easy to do around a table or in a live-action game. So Vo and Talon actually designed the map of their location, and then they built it exactly the way they wanted it. I had to figure out like the cost of materials and the timelines, but it turned out to be really fun, and they love that they have a completely custom headquarters with a hidden basement. Also, I'm going to reward them for the fact that they spent the extra gold and took the extra time to try to obfuscate who owned that location, because it's not going to be as easy as the bad guys looking up their name and going and blowing up their house. Next location is the Old Grayson House. Yes, this is again from chapter 33. It's not from the main section. It's actually part of interlude number 1, which is called The Trouble with Goblins. You can find it on my ptol.us map on Passover Road in the North Market. Literally just search for Grayson House, and it's Grey. After the goblins are dealt with, the PCs could wind up buying or being given this house. Yet again, no owner is mentioned for this location, but there is a map in the handouts, and as a fun bonus for adventurers, they could wind up with their very own personal connection to the dungeons under Ptolus because the house basement is connected. There's no map given for that, so it's up to your creativity. If you follow the chapter 26 prices, a house in the North Market should cost you around 5,000 gold. If that's too steep, maybe the owner gives them a discount due to goblin damage. If it's too cheap, maybe he jacks up the price because they're delvers or because they broke his house, right? The next one is, we're getting much bigger here, the Pythoness House and the apartment complex from the Night of Dissolution adventure. Finally, I'm not talking about chapter 33 locations anymore. These two are at the very beginning of the Night of Dissolution adventure, and they also feature in my Calling campaign. Both Pythoness House and the apartment complex are in Old Town and just a few blocks away from each other. Barash, the Silver Dragonborn fighter in my campaign, decided he wanted to buy the apartment complex. He wanted to fix it up, and he actually wanted to become a landlord to have extra income, in case he ever decided to retire from, almost dying, right? Personally, as the narrator, I was much more interested in him owning the abandoned castle Pythoness House. So we worked out a story between myself and the player where the owner double-crossed Barash and sold him the Pythoness House instead of the apartment complex by simply changing the address on there, and Barash didn't notice it. Now, pissing off a 13th level Dragonborn fighter might not have been a great idea for this guy, but again, this also gives us great role-playing opportunities to move forward. Also, it was done all legally, so even though Barash might want to just go kill the guy, that would be breaking the law. So this is another way that you can include extra fun stuff if that interests you. Not the least of the RP opportunities is also that Barash is actually worshipped by many ratmen under the city due to his kindness in not killing many of them, and he is training and trying to educate some of them that he rescued from Night of Dissolution. If you want more details about that, you have to read the play-by-post content from my campaign, which is on the website, or you have to wait for me to finally get up to that part of the adventure in my dramatic readings called Tales Under the Spire. I read about several other campaigns where the PCs wound up owning Pythoness House, but if your PCs want to buy the apartments like Barash intended, that would be cool too. It's really up to you. I even created for you a homebrew owner of Pythoness and the apartments. His name is Leaf de Grey, and a money lender with a fully fleshed out location and NPCs. Just search on my website called Grand Spire Holdings. You'll find a picture of it. You'll find information about the NPCs. I created all of this for my campaign, and I have made it available to you on my website. The next one, we're back to Subterranean. Right under the apartment complex from the Night of Dissolution adventure is the Temple of Deep Chaos. Again, this would be a little strange because it's beneath the earth. There's probably not an owner or deed or anything with this. And maybe they want to buy the apartment complex so they can control access to this location. But for role-playing opportunities, the Chaos Cults know about this location. They're probably mad that you killed all of their people and ran them out. So maybe they teleport in, maybe they attack later. This is all stuff that your PCs get to deal with. Finally, leaving Night of Dissolution behind, the Manor House, which is located over the Bane Warrens. Yet again, this location features in my calling campaign because Julia, the cleric of Lothian, and Parnaith, ooh, interesting concept there, interesting thing that happened, sorry. She wanted to take over this house to live there and protect that entrance to the Bane Warrens. I'm having the Lothianite Church help her purchase it and even help her staff it. And next is the Rosegate House. You probably saw this when you were reading through the book. This location is in the Nobles' Quarters, and it was specifically created by Monte Cook to be given to your adventurers for good deeds completed. There are great maps of this location already. There's some really cool hooks, tie-ins, and extra things that go with that, and you can find all of that in the handout section or in the back of the book. Finally, the PCs could buy almost anything, right? This is an RPG. You can do whatever you want. Use the prices in Chapter 26 if they find a random place they want to buy, right? If they want to purchase a business, a tavern, an inn, anything, you can make all of that work. That's one of the coolest things about Ptolus and D&D in general, right? In our Ugly Inc. campaign, or Ugly Incorporated, they actually bought a Ptolus location called the Shrine of Dreams, which is located at the docks. They renamed it the Captain's Den, and they're running it as a business, and some of the characters actually live there. This was really fun for us to work out, and it's provided a ton of role-playing opportunities. You can also think about labyrinth locations. I honestly don't remember whose campaign it was that I read about, so if it's your campaign, leave a comment down below or holler at us over on Discord. But there was a dwarven party that found a location in the caves under Ptolus, and they made that their home base. They staffed it, they had guards, everything. So again, your imagination is the only limit when it comes to this. Now thinking about epic levels. Epic people have epic layers and locations, right? Think about Goth Gogamel and Jabal Shamar. I've mentioned this before, but our intentions with the calling campaign is that they will actually clean out both of the fortresses on the Spire. And someday, far, far, far into the future, they actually, when they reach insanely epic levels, I want them to redeem and live in Jabal Shamar. It's good to have goals, right? Hopefully we'll make it that far. Hopefully I'll get to tell you about that. Something to think about is staffing and upkeep. Staffing and maintenance is one of the things that most people will probably groan about. Well, if you run a game for accountants and nerds, then you could run spreadsheets with profit and loss statements. But, if you're normal, then you can do what we're doing for almost all of the locations in my campaigns. We use either a monthly upkeep cost that covers everything. That's paying employees, maintenance, taxes, etc. Then for the income generating locations, we just figured how much it would make each month after expenses. So this is a really simple thing that you can hand wave. Obviously, you can have instances where something bad happens, something comes up. You don't want to attack the player's home bases too often because then you're basically making it a detriment that they have a location. So try not to be the jerk that just comes in and blows up their hard-earned house, right? Reward them, but from time to time, maybe there's something that's damaged. Maybe there's something big that goes wrong. If you want to drain a little bit of their resources, this is a great way to do that. Please tell me about your fantasy real estate. I don't mean your fantasy house. I mean your real estate in your fantasy game. You got that right. What you're doing in your campaign, Ptolus or otherwise, please let me know down in the comments below, or jump over to our Ptolus Discord, there's a link below, and tell us what you're doing. If you've got a home base, if you've bought one of the locations in Ptolus, if you've made something custom, please tell us about it because the other narrators can get your ideas, take your ideas, and get to use them for their own, which is what we're all trying to do here, help everybody. Make sure you click like, subscribe, click on the tolling bell, all the junk that everybody else on YouTube tells you to do, right? And honestly, if you're the coolest person alive and you want to guarantee that all of your rolls come up as 20s, then you can support me on Patreon. Okay, that might not actually work, but, I can say whatever I want. It's YouTube, right? Let me know what you're doing with your real estate. Comment below. Tell us on Discord. Otherwise, until next time, stay out of the shadow of the Spire.